Hello everyone and welcome back to the Nexus. In this new video, together with me, I have Lucas. Lucas, how's it going?
Hey, Emiliano. Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to see you too. Today we are diving into a brand new leader from Set 3 that has interested a lot of players as well as pushed them away, as is a very unique play style. So I wanted to invite Lucas as he has bravely enough brought Darth Sidious slash Chancellor Palpatine, a new leader, to the recent OPE Birmingham event. So in this video, what we want to do, we want to look at the deck building process that Lucas went through, how the deck performed, what things can be improved, how to play the deck, and what things to be aware of. So before we dive into that, let's get to know Lucas a little bit. Lucas, how you doing, first of all, after the event? And if you want to give a quick intro about yourself and how did you came to start playing Swoo?
Sure. Thanks very much, Emiliano. I'm Lucas. I currently live in Germany. I teach at a university here. Um, I'm doing all right. Quite a bit tired after the event because I flew to Birmingham and back. Really long wait at the airport, which was crazy. But other than that, I've been a gamer for a long time. Board games mostly had been my hobby since 2007 or something. And I've played a ton of Fantasy Flight's other card games. I used to be pretty competitive in Netrunner back in the day. I've played all their stuff. I played their Warhammer Fantasy game. I played Destiny. I played the Warhammer 40K game. What else? There's a couple more that I played because they had so many. And well, I really hope they don't kill this game off after like 3 years, like they've done with all the other ones.
Yeah, I'm not familiar
Um,
with their history, but we had Dave Hoyland on the channel, another friend of ours. He mentioned Netrunner as well, and a bit of the history of other games. So yeah, fingers crossed here, but it seems like, I mean, it's promising, I would say, at least.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, Fantasy Flight's sort of like the toxic relationship here that like, oh, that they won't hurt me again for the seventh time. But when I met the some of the designers at Essen, because I went right after I moved to Germany from London, I did mention that I'm like, you have plans to keep this up? And they said they've committed all of their resources to this game. And I mean, it shows, I think, because the game's fantastic. It seems like it's the best of card game design in the last like 15 years has been put into this game. So yeah, I think it's fantastic. I'm excited to keep going with it.
Amazing. Yeah. Thanks for the intro. And I would say before we jump into the deck, I think we need to ask a question, which is why? Why playing this
Uh,
leader? And tell us about this leader a little bit. Oh, nice.
well, if you can't tell, Palpatine has been my favorite Star Wars character ever since I was a kid. Ever since he did the 920-degree spin over the table to kill the Jedi. When I watched that as like a 7-year-old, I was hooked. So he my favorite character, and the fact that I have the two showcases, I think, proves that. I said I was never going to buy a showcase in this game, and I was at a draft for set one, and I opened the Palpatine, and I was like, "Oh, well, it's over for me." So I picked up the other Palpatine showcase recently. So, why this deck? Well, for the first two sets, I was playing Palpatine, but not only because he's my favorite character, but he has such a game warping ability when you flip him to steal something. I mean, can just win the game. Um, and I was very high on him. But I don't like to play meta things, so I wasn't playing Palp Green. I was playing Palp Yellow, and now Palp Yellow's meta, as we've seen from Josh Freeman Burt. I've actually just put together his deck, and I'm excited to see what he's sort of innovating on there.
And
But
Aoi is playing Palp Blue. So
oh yes, of
yeah.
course,
There's a
yeah,
couple of combinations. But why
yeah,
this
you can
one?
pick commander.
And could you
Yeah,
walk us
so
through like how it works as a leader?
the new Palp. Yes, so his ability, I mean, does exactly what I want to thematically, of course. But I think the thing you have to keep in mind about this Palpatine is that you can sort of play whatever you want with it. You get to play both dark side cards and light side cards in any color combination you really want, which I think is a big deal. And even though you're not getting a leader deploy, a lot of people have sort of been down on Palp because he doesn't get to sort of deploy to the field. He doesn't, have some board presence. I think the fact you're getting so much value out of his ability, you're healing 8 or 10 damage and doing 8 or 10 damage. You're making 3 or 4 bodies. You're drawing a billion cards. I think you're just getting so much value out of it to play the deck that you want to play. And in some ways, I've seen all these content creators talk about you need to build your deck around the leader deploy. I think here you can kind of build a deck around the deck. Does that make sense? Like
Makes
you pick
sense.
cards that you really like. In some ways, I think Palpatine, this Chancellor Palpatine Sidious. I've been trying to say Sidious so you don't get confused with the original Palpatine.
Yeah,
Sidious,
we
he
we
can
can
is
we
yeah.
can call it like that. One thing I wanted to kind of like frame for the viewers that might have not used it yet is how mechanically it works, right? So
Oh, right, of
it
course, of
starts
course.
with the heroism side, and it has that action that if a friendly heroism unit was defeated, we can draw a card, heal 2 damage from our base, and then flip the leader. One thing that needs to be mentioned, I believe, is that when we flip the leader is exhausted. So it doesn't allow for an infinite loop in a turn on like flipping, right? We can't flip to Darth Sidious and then met the other condition, which is if you play a villainy card this phase, you can action create a clone trooper token, deal 2 damage to enemy base, and then flip the leader. So just to frame the fact that,
Yeah,
yeah, it doesn't go infinite, right?
absolutely. Yeah, the you need triggers to be able to go back and forth, and you have to play a very specific deck to be able to achieve this, which we'll talk about here soon,
Yeah, let's
as we're
dive
going to see in
into
the
it.
list that I built.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
sure.
dive into it because we got to understand like why you wanted to build it. Now let's briefly, well, we're gonna spend some time here. This was your deck list in Birmingham. I'm gonna start by asking. I love to ask why. Why blue, right? And
Sure.
so as you tell us why blue, then if you can dive a bit deeper into what is the approach on of like playing this deck.
Sure. So, I knew when I signed up for Birmingham, I was going to play Palpatine. So I was going to force it no matter what. And I'm thinking about a few things. The first is I lost so much sleep trying to build this deck because he's such a complicated leader. And the first thing I said, I'm just going to play my favorite card in the game. My favorite card in the game is Triple Dark Raid. As you know, you've played against me before, Emiliano. My favorite card is Triple Dark Raid. My second favorite card is going to be Sneak Attack, which I'm not playing. But I'm interested in any of these effects that play stuff for cheaper and ready. And if Fantasy Flight continues to release cards that do that, I'm going to be interested in those abilities because I think they're just so powerful. So the first thing is why fit Triple Dark Raid into Sidious? And I think the answer is because we're getting both dark side vehicles and light side vehicles. You could play some really powerful ones. And in this case, Redemption is just game-winningly broken off of Triple Dark Raid. And we can talk a bit about that in a little while.
Yeah, we saw
Yeah,
that
blue.
moment
Yeah,
on stream
yeah,
that won
sure,
you the game.
sure.
That was pretty awesome. So yeah, you can play these huge vehicles, cheat them out. You have a lot in here, including that Avenger that is menacing, honestly, because you can triple dark rate an Avenger, putting into play, destroy something, and then swing with it, and then it comes back to hand. That is very
Absolutely.
scary.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about the sort of the vehicles here. Just redemption, obviously. You're healing 8, it returns to your hand. You heal 8 again when you play it the next turn. There's also I put in a little cheeky first light here because play redemption, and you play first light. Redemption swings for 14. There's there's a lot of interesting stuff, and we'll get to some of the smaller vehicles soon when we can talk about matchups. But I decided on blue because this Palpatine, the Sidious, he leans himself towards control because he's getting value, he's healing, he's getting stuff on board that I think it's going to be pretty hard to play him in red, at least at this moment, until we start getting more aggression pieces. I know people are trying, and red's not really my color, so I haven't forced it. But actually, for 3 weeks before I changed to blue, I was on green Sidious, and we could talk about other ways to build it, I think, later in the video. But green is really interesting for a lot of reasons too, and triple dark rating out like a home one, for example, is also very powerful. So, which direction would you like to focus on
Yeah, well,
today?
is we take it from like how to play it, right? So we've seen that
Okay.
the heroism side is the one that starts. So I guess your game plan is okay. I'm gonna have a bunch of low cost heroism unit, which will essentially kick off my leader ability, and then hopefully can snowball because the Sidious side then creates a clone, which is an heroism unit, which if it
Mhm.
dies, we can reactivate. I guess like what is your ideal like curve scenario, right? What is your kind of hey, this is working kind of moment? Which cards do you want to see?
Absolutely. Well, let's start with the bit about you want a heroism unit to die on turn two, essentially. You'll notice I'm running 12 heroism one drops. And I will tell any Sidious player right now, you need to run at least 10, I would say 12 heroism one drops. And some of these are actually pretty mediocre. Like Clan Run Rescuer is just not that great of a card. But the game doesn't have enough fantastic, heroism, turn one plays. So that's why we're running Queel. We're running this Lothal Surgeon, which is just trading really well, a 3/2. Queel is the best of them because he's healing, he's drawing cards, doing all these things you want. But that Clanman Rescuer, for example, is just going to be replaced as soon as something better comes out of this. So a great line is you play Queel, and then we go to turn two. And Queel happens to attack, heals a little, it trades into something, it draws you a blue card. And you'll notice tons of blue cards in here we need from Queel, and we need to eventually curve into our Lieutenant Childson, who's coming down on turn three. Uh, Almost every single time I've played Childson with this deck, he's a 6/6 because you're drawing a stupid amount of cards from the Queel. You're drawing one from Sidious's flip. You're drawing, four before the turn of Childson. And then from there, you can kind of take over the game because you've locked up the ground, and you're going to lock up space with your mid-range vehicles and your TDR, and then and the game with sort of a Luke and such. But
Would you call this a
yeah, where did you?
space deck?
Uh, Maybe, maybe not in the way that Django is a space deck. Because I think the best part about TDR in my mind is that you wanna play these vehicles that have effects that do something when they enter play. So Redemption is healing you for 8. Avenger is killing something. Geonosis Patrol Fighter. Oh, we could spend 10 minutes talking about how great of a card that is. That's one of the best cards from set 3 is Geonosis Patrol Fighter. It's a waylay on a stick. It can cost 1. In this deck, I think any Sidious player needs to be playing Geonosis Patrol Fighter because you
Yeah,
can
it does so
sacrifice.
much. Yeah, you can
Yeah,
exploit your heroism and
exactly.
it does a lot of value. The only downside I see is that it's neither heroism or villainy, so it doesn't actually help you progress in some cases. But
This is
speaking
this
of,
is true.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I just want to say on that point about
yeah,
stuff being heroism or villainy, it's kind of hard, and I think this is where, in a year's time, people are going to have a better mathematical sort of idea of where to take Sidious. But you don't always want all heroism or all villainy cards because you might be stuck with a handful of them on the wrong side. So it is nice to have a few neutral cards that are able to be played from either side. And I think Geonosis Troll Fighter is a
makes
great
sense.
example of this.
Makes sense. No, thank you so much for walking us through that. I think what we can do is let's talk about a bit of like, you know, since we have so many options, you landed on like
Right.
a few cards, and
Yeah.
you told
Yeah.
me that the MVPs so far have been Power of the Dark Side and Charleston, so two set one staple. And then we have a set three card that everyone is going crazy about, and I've had the privilege to meet Omerjan, the artist that
Okay. The
so
artist. Yeah.
kindly signed three copies for me. Um,
Oh well. Very nice.
and also, you shouted out specifically Triple Dark Raid plus Redemption. Just briefly, can you give us like a reason, like why are these for you your MVPs?
Sure. So the MVPs. This ended up being my MVPs in Birmingham specifically. Now I'll tell anyone who goes and looks me up is going to see that I only went 4-4, but we can talk. And I was pretty disappointed. And then Krish,
It's a good result,
who's
man. With with
commentating.
that leader,
Yeah.
like you need to put it in context as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Khrushchev, who was commentating, he said the same thing. He was like, "Oh, that's fantastic for an untested leader." So, yes, these are my MVPs for the day. And you'll notice I have Power of the Dark Side and Lieutenant Johnson. Like they've kind of been MVPs for everybody. What's new there? But I wasn't aware until I really started playing. I mean, this was kind of the maiden voyage of the deck was Birmingham. How good Childston on turn three, guaranteed 6/6 every time was going to be. And I was only running 2 copies of Power of the Dark Side because I was worried about getting stuck on hero and not playing that on sort of turn two. Yeah, that was a mistake. I should have been running three. And the flexibility of trading immediately on turn two and then playing Power of the Dark Side was really, really strong. And if anyone goes and watches the stream, it's on YouTube and Twitch. You'll see on the first one on there, you'll see that there's just places where I curve into Power of the Dark Side, and it's really, really strong. But perilous position here. I think I'm joining everyone in saying that this card overperformed, like fantastically overperformed. I brought it in the sideboard on every single game of the day, so that's like 8 times three, 24 games I played Perilous Position. Um, and the fact that this can kill stuff, but also just tap down leaders and things and make them weak. I mean, tapping this, I ended up having a good matchups into Sabine, even though I got a little lucky on stream. But yeah, like you put this on Sabine, and she's swinging for one, and Sabines aren't running Dark Saber anymore. It's just it's kind of backbreaking in a lot of ways there. But the absolute best move this deck can make is TDR Redemption. It just saves you. It saved me in both the Sabine game matchups I played that day. It's really funny. So swing in 6, bounce it back to hand, play it again, heal another 8. I mean, and they scoop at that point. And this is kind of what the deck is built around, and we can talk about how TDR isn't always the best card in some cases.
Yeah,
I guess if
we
you want to go to
we
the
kind
next
of have
slide.
our lowlights that we spoiled it. Is
Yeah,
TDR is also here. But
yeah,
interestingly, we see um a new set three card, Devastating Gunship, which
yeah.
personally I was a bit high on. So interested in your
Likewise.
thoughts. And
Yeah,
then Snoke, which is such a controversial card because like it's people that love it, people that hate him. And then yeah, tell me a
yeah.
bit more about why Triple Dark Raid is also in the lowlights for you.
Sure, sure. Well, let me start with the Devastating Gunship. So I was really high on this card too. And I mean, it looks like so much value on screen. And it's killing stuff at 2 damage, the 2 damage or less. And it felt really great, TDRing this immediately when you flip into black. Um, in that same slot, by the way, on the deck list, I have Obi-Wan's Aether Sprite, and I didn't put this in MVPs because I didn't end up getting to play it too much. But I think Obi-Wan's Aether Sprite is completely busted, especially against Django. I think if you TDR a Obi-Wan's Aether Sprite, you just win against Django. It kills 3 or 4 of their space units when it comes down. But sorry, this Devastating Gunship, in theory, I really liked it. And based on my matchups of the day, it killed nothing. Everything had 3 health. It wasn't, it felt really bad to just play it for 5 and do nothing with it. The grit wasn't activating because people are either killing it immediately or, I'm not getting another Aether Sprite to do damage to it myself. I think it has its place. I don't think it's the deck, unfortunately, but I think in like Kira, for example, this is the new mid-range Kira spaceship. Now Snoke, I love Snoke, I really do, but every time I played him, it felt like I'm just spending 8 resources to kind of lose the game. It puts me behind on the board. If you watch the stream, um, it really felt really bad to have Wrecker come into this, and I had that happen to me a couple times where I sort of drop it onto a board thinking it puts me ahead, and it actually was kind of a waste of a turn for me. So I've sort of replaced it with Super Laser, and we'll Blast. We'll talk about that later. But TDR. So I love TDR. I don't know if Sidius is the deck for it, unfortunately, as much as I love it. And the problem is I think that blue black, blue white just doesn't have enough payoff instant value vehicles yet in the way that green does, like reinforcement walkers and devastators and
Or
ambush
red,
vehicles and
maybe,
stuff.
with the Rootless Raider we've seen.
Yeah, exactly. And blue, the only when I'm thinking of like what do I really want to hit off TDR with blue, unless I'm playing against a Django, it's I want to hit redemption. Not hitting redemption, I'm kind of unhappy. And that's kind of how it's felt. So when we get to how my decks changed, I can talk about my rules with TDR. But again, I had the rules with Sidious being you need to run 12 white one drops. I think with TDR, I see a lot of people trying to run TDR with less than 20 vehicles, and I think that's absolutely a mistake. Like if you're going to play it, you have to run 20 vehicles. I played in the Leicester tournament a few months back, and I was running I think 18, and the game-winning TDR I needed to hit to win, I completely whiffed. I drew no vehicles, and I think if you like that card, you have to run 20.
It needs to
That's
be
just
a
how it
full
has to be,
commitment.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you can see that I have 3 things being balanced in the deck. I have to have early white units to drop. I have to have 20 vehicles, and most of the deck needs to be blue for Childson and Queel. So it begins to be like
It's a
there's not that
fine
much room
balance.
for
Yeah.
error
It's a
here.
very
Yeah.
fine balance. Speaking of tournaments and matchups,
Sure,
briefly, I
sure.
think um, people that are watching are starting to think, okay, so it's a control-y deck with no leader deploy. What's it good against, and what does it suffer? Just briefly on this, because then I want to spend more time on the newer
Yeah,
version.
absolutely. So at Birmingham, I played no Django's, which I was really disappointed about because I built this deck to be a Django killer. Again, I was saying that TDR out of Obi-Wan's Aether Sprite or the Devastating Gunship, and I think Django just loses to Aether Sprite. That's ready. But I faced no Django's that was unhappy. But I faced a Palp Yellow, and that seems to be doing pretty well, especially Joshua Freeman Birch. He got to third, I think, with it. And I faced a Palp Yellow, and they did no damage to me, and I really controlled the board against him. And I think part of that is because I played a lot of Palp. I know how to do it. But the thing with this deck is, especially with Geonosis Patrol Fighter, every time he tried to ping one of my things to steal, you could exploit out whatever he pinged and bounce back his like super laser tech, and it just cannot get ahead. And I really liked that feeling of triple dark rating out a big thing after he claims, hitting him, it bounces back to my hand, he can't steal it. So that felt really good against other control decks.
And then I see
On the flip side, what's
Han
that?
Solo
Uh,
menacingly staring. And then you said there's a noticeable mention for this guy here. Can you tell
yes,
us a bit more about that?
absolutely. So just a quick shout out to my boys back in London, the Bendu boys. That's our sort of testing group, and we all came up to Birmingham, which was great. And I hadn't tested against the Han Yellow matchup until the night before. So shout out to James During. He did really well. I think he came 35th on the day with his Han Yellow, and I didn't realize how bad of a matchup it was for this deck. and I ended up playing some Han Yellow the day. Essentially, it's an auto lose for Sidious. You can imagine why. Um, because they're looking at your hand and they're seeing your dark side card. You need to flip back to the white side, and they discard it, and you lose. uh,
Yeah,
no,
that's tough. Because also, yeah, they have that. Obviously, you get sparked, and then
yeah.
you get DJ'd. So you can't
Oh,
even
the
overpay.
DJ.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
I had
can't even
suppressed that
overpay for
trauma. The
stuff.
game I played against the Han Yellow, he not only DJ'd me twice, he put a hotshot blaster onto his Enfys Nest and bounced my Luke 3 times. So there's just nothing you can
That is
do
so
against Han Yellow,
strong.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Why the Crate
That might be
Dragon?
just the. Oh, so Crate Dragon is not related to Han here, but again, a shout out to Kabir, who Kabir and I have this joke. He plays Vader Green, and we've been matched up in every single tournament we've ever played in, no matter the level. And yeah, again, this deck does really poorly against Crate Dragon. And Kabir, I helped him build a sideboard the night before, and well, he drops 2 Crate Dragons against me, so I just played an Avenger for a laugh, so he could do 18 to my base. Yeah, really suffers against Crate Dragon, and that can get us to how the deck has changed because I've been
Yeah, for
trying
sure.
to think about
Yeah, it makes
how
sense,
to
right?
test
We
these
we
things.
talked about
Yeah.
how you played it and what are the kind of like mechanics as well as what were your MVPs. So this is how it's evolving right now. Could you just highlight some of the changes?
Yeah, sure. So this is completely untested. This is just based off of sort of my first impressions after for Birmingham. But the first thing is that we've cut the Snokes. I put in a super laser blast there. Only one, but that might need to change. But I want to stress again that this deck draws so many cards that I think you can get away with just playing one copy of things in a way you maybe not be able to with other decks. I cut those gunships. I sort of replaced them with some cheaper vehicles like the Inferno 4 just to give us some filtering. Um, but I've added back in a third Power of the Dark Side, I think totally necessary. I've main decked those perilous positions because they were just so good. Um, but nothing too crazy has changed. But I will say I'm testing out Malevolence. I've heard a lot of people have been really high on this
I
card.
like it a
Uh,
lot because it's like your
yeah, I
third copy of Perilous Position almost. Um,
Yeah, that's an interesting way to
I
put
like
it,
it.
and I don't know how I feel about it. In some ways, I don't know how much it's doing, but I need to test it. I need to see how early it can come out and if I'm sacrificing things to make it worth it. But this could be dealer's choice here, and I'm going to say this to anyone who likes TDR, is just pick the vehicles you like the most at the top end. I mean, if this Bosk Blue that Thork won the day with becomes really irrelevant, that could be a Relentless main board. I put a Relentless to the sideboard to deal with this. And speaking of the Crate Dragon issue, I've just put in 2 Fel the Dragon in the sideboard. I had Change of Heart, but it really wasn't. It wasn't enough. We just needed to kill the Crate Dragon on site, I think. Um,
Yeah, this is very interesting. I think, as you highlighted, there's a couple of ways to go about it, and I think you have equipped our viewers with kind of like the knowledge of how to go about it if they wish to um, adopt this deck and try it out. I was curious to know what are your final thoughts on the deck? Do you think you're gonna still play it? Do you think you're gonna pivot to a different Palpatine deck? Yeah, what are your plans?
Well, so again, I think with Sidious, he's so versatile, and you can do so much with him. And I think I'm gonna keep trying the TDR blue for a while, but I think there's a very good, more normal control you can play with Sidious blue. And a sort of package I'm very interested in trying with him is the perilous positions, the frozen and carbonite, the entrenched, and then you run like Razor Crest, which recurs these. And then there's this brilliant card in the new set, um, a fine edition, which is a 0 cost black card that returns upgrades. So you lock down the board with all of these. and you get a free flip back to your light side, which I'm kind of interested in trying that out. But green yellow is my main love. I would love to try TDR home one with a fleet lieutenant to get the instant 10 damage. It's kind of like Vader sneak attack, which is sort of one of my more favorite plays.
I see, I see. Yeah, I'm very curious to see how the meta evolves now that control is like a looming kind of like threat right now.
Yeah,
But I really hope we can see more of your Palpatine shenanigans soon. Not shenanigans
yeah, me
actually,
too.
like these
Yeah,
amazing
cool.
inventions. Before we depart, Lucas, thank you so much. Is there any shout out you want to give? Anything you want to share with the viewers?
Yeah, just a shout out again to the Bendu boys from London. So that's Kabir, James, Henry, Alfie, Iggy, and Neil. And I feel like I'm forgetting something. Who am I forgetting? Oh, Kabir, of course. Yeah, shout out to them, and yeah, play more Palpatine, everyone. Thanks so much, Emmy, for having me on.
Amazing. Play more Palpatine. Leave us a like. Leave a comment if you have any questions for Lucas. I'm sure he's going to be able to answer down there in the comments. Leave us a sub if you're not subscribed yet. We are on track for 1,000 subs, hopefully soon. Again, I want to thank Lucas for his time, and we're going to catch you guys next time. Ciao.
Thanks very much.